Hey, welcome to my channel. My name's Lauren Louder, founder and owner of Burnout Teachers. I used to be an elementary school teacher and I got really burnt out, so I started a tutoring business and was able to go full-time with that. And now I make satirical, funny teacher videos. So welcome. Today, I wanted to come on here and talk about a book that I just finished. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you've read it. Maybe it's on your list. It's called All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. And just to be clear, I'm not like an official book reviewer or anything, but this was a jam-packed book and I feel the need to talk about it. I feel the need to connect with other people that have read it. Yeah, let's talk. So I don't know too much about Ashley. I know that she has a true crime podcast, but I'm not super familiar with it. I do know it's very popular though. If you haven't read this book and you do plan on reading it, please don't watch this video as it contains lots and lots of spoilers. I will literally be talking about the ending, so you've been warned. So before we dive into the nitty-gritty, here are my 2 cents. I really enjoyed the book overall. It was a page turner. I think Ashley is a really gifted writer. The ending though, come on now. Come on now. Ashley, I really hope you're in the middle of writing the sequel for this because dang. So without giving too much away, this story takes place in Wakarusa, Indiana. I hope I said that right. A small town. Like picture the smallest town you've ever been to and then cut it in half. Everybody knows everybody, and because of that, it's a really gossipy town. Everyone knows everyone's business, that kind of thing. The story jumps back and forth between 1994 and 2019. 1994 being the year that Margot Davies' best friend, January Jacobs, is kidnapped and murdered, and whoever did it was never found. 2019 is when Margot returns back to Wakarusa, all grown up, to take care of her uncle Luke, who has early onset dementia. But that's not the only thing that makes 2019 significant. Wakarusa is struck with panic yet again as Natalie Clark, a 6-year-old in a neighboring town, has been kidnapped from a nearby playground. Margot is a reporter, and so while caring for her uncle, she's also writing a piece on the Natalie Clark case and trying to connect her kidnapping with the kidnapping and murder of her late friend January. She is convinced they're connected, like convinced. Her boss doesn't like that. She thinks she's reaching, and Margot's been really scatterbrained lately with all the extra care she's been having to give to her uncle. And so because of all of that, she is fired. She falls into a rock bottom type situation and becomes determined that she's going to find Natalie's kidnapper and January's kidnapper and murderer, and then write an article that lands her a job and lots of money. The town of Wakarusa, however, is convinced that Chrissy, the mom of January, is the one who committed her murder. Since 1994, when January was found dead, really her whole family was under fire. They all looked really sketch, including her dad Billy and her brother Jace. So Margot is on a mission to solve and connect the cases of both Natalie Clark and January Jacobs, no matter who did it. All right, so here's where the major spoilers begin. If you haven't read this book yet and you plan to, bye. So if you're still here, I'm guessing you've read the book. Let's chat. Few things that stood out to me here. Like I said, I really enjoyed this book. Loved it along the way, but I was disappointed with some aspects, especially the ending. But I'll talk about that last. Number 1, I was disappointed in the small part that Pete, the police officer and Margot's friend, played in this story. This may be trivial, but I was really hoping that there was going to be some kind of love connection between Margot and him. I felt like there was chemistry, but nothing ever came of it. There was definite tension. I wish that had blossomed more. Pete was too great for nothing to happen. I don't know. Kind of felt like a missed opportunity. Number 2, after reading lots of other reviews and talking to other people that have read this book, it seems like this was very close to the JonBenet Ramsey case, like eerily similar, which is fine. Inspiration comes from many different places. I have been living under a rock for the past 26 years, so I'm not super well versed on that case when it happened back in 1996, I guess. But for people that are, it seemed a little too similar. Number 3, Elephant Wallace? Really? I feel like that was a little bit of a stretch to connect Elliot Wallace. It was such a minor detail said in passing during their childhood that I feel like it was a reach for that to be brought up again, to even be remembered. Maybe I'm off base in saying that. And also, Elliot Wallace and Luke just so happened to be in the background of January's recital pictures. Tons of people go to those. I don't know, that just kind of seems like too perfect right place, right time. Just too perfect. And she's able to make out grainy pictures with like half their faces missing. I don't know. I guess. I just feel like it's a little too perfect and a little too far of a reach. Number 4, I don't feel like Margot really changed or evolved much as the story went on. I like to see my protagonists grow, and I feel like she kind of stayed pretty steady the whole time. There was a moment where she kind of developed some empathy towards Elliot's family when she was trying to connect him as the murderer. She had that scare with her uncle Luke, thinking that maybe he had done something bad, so she was kind of empathizing with murderers' families, kind of realizing and understanding how they feel during the whole process. But that was pretty surface level as well. Nothing really else came of that. Number 5, the Luke-Dave name change was interesting. Honestly, I hated that. I felt like it was such a lukewarm, no pun intended, actually pun intended, turn of events. Like, oh, Dave is actually Luke. Okay. That twist just fell kind of flat for me. I was not super pumped about that. Number 6, the reason for Billy killing January? What? So you're telling me you knock your pride and joy, apple of your eye, baby daughter down the stairs, and the first thing that comes to her mind as she's laying there when she sees her father is this like, why did you hurt me, Dad? Instead of like, oh, thank goodness Dad's here to help me. Like, oh, you've never given me any other reason to think you would hurt me in some way, but now I'm just gonna make that the focus of this whole debacle. I don't know, that felt super forced again. And Billy, being the loving father that he was, how is his solution to just finish her off and not at least lie and be like, that was an accident, I didn't mean to do that. A 6-year-old would be like, oh, okay, she just knew that a door hit her. She had no idea what happened. For all she knew, she could have just been standing at the top of the door and someone walked by to close it. It seemed really out of character for Billy to just unnecessarily snap like that. I get he was living this crappy life that he felt forced into, but that whole thing felt really forced again. Sorry. Number 7, Chrissy at the top of the stairs when she's looking down and sees Jace standing over January's body. In his 6-year-old mind, he tries to make his mom feel better by saying something along the lines of, Mom, you and I can play together, or can we play together tomorrow, Mom? Just you and me. So Chrissy, being the adult, just assumes that he's saying this because he just got done murdering his sister in cold blood. Hey Chrissy, why don't you just ask him if he killed her just now? Hey Jace, did you just kill January? No? Okay, great. We just saved ourselves years of unnecessary torment. See how easy that would have been? Why didn't she just ask him? Then, Chrissy, you feel like the only way to handle it is to absolutely F up your kitchen walls with spray paint, load your daughter's body into the trunk of your car, and abandon it in a ditch. I don't understand. Number 8, did Chrissy ever really find out that Billy murdered January? That line in her note that was like, your father isn't really who you think he is, when she wrote that note to Jace, could have gone 2 ways. I get that. Your father is not physically who you think he is, Luke is your father, or your father isn't who you think he is, he's actually a murderer. But it was never explicit. Again, why aren't people just asking? Billy, you don't even know what Chrissy meant by that. Instead of just assuming and killing her, be like, hey, I just found your note. What'd you mean by this? Can we sit down and have a little chit chat? Nah, I'll just murder you. Number 9, the ending. The bloody ending. Honestly, one of the worst endings to a book I've ever experienced. I'm sorry, I really liked this book. But the ending. Maybe you felt differently, and that's okay. This is my book review though, so back off, okay? Just kidding. I really do want to know what you thought if you read the book, so let me know in the comments. But this ending, so you're telling me this character, Margot, that we followed this entire book, who we've been rooting for, who has finally patched her life back together, reached her goals, followed her dreams, may or may not have just become the next victim of Psycho Billy? Oh, my leg. And I say may or may not have because we have no idea. It literally ends with her on the top of these basement steps wondering if she'll be the next victim. But we have no idea what actually happens to her. Absolutely wretched. So disappointing. So many things left unanswered. So many burning questions. Again, I really hope there's a sequel because then I'll feel better. Ugh. But yeah, those were 9 main things I wanted to talk about after reading this book. Thanks for hanging out with me as I talked about it and maybe reviewed it. Was that a review? I feel like it was just me venting the whole time. Would you call it a review? Probably not. Anyways, I truly did enjoy this book. I thought it was really, really good. But overall, I do feel like it fell flat in many areas, and there were many aspects that felt forced, which looking back makes me feel like the book overall was a little dull. which I hate because it really was good throughout. But if you haven't read this book, which means you weren't following directions, you shouldn't have been watching, and you want to read it yourself, or you know of someone that might enjoy it, I'll put the link to it in my description so you can grab your own copy. Let me know your thoughts about the book. What did you like? What didn't you like? Let me know below in the comments. Thanks again for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.